Okay, here we are with the G5. I've already done this one, and we know the issue on this one is a power cord, which, you know, that's what the customer suspected anyway, and this was a big tell sign that it is. So I checked with the new power cord that I know works. Comes right on. There's something going on inside, and I don't know if it's just a rock stuck in there or what, but it don't sound quite right, so I'm going to open it up. So I already had it halfway open, so I'm missing some screws. As you can see, the bag is already taken off. So if you don't know how to do that, check with one of my other videos. They're just simple twists. I say simple. It takes two hands sometimes. While you're holding the camera, it's not so simple. So you just twist it off, pop this little snap here, press it in, it falls off. This bag just happens to weigh about 20-something pounds because it's full of trash. They should definitely empty it. But, so anyway, I got this off. Then you take this screw loose. I already have it out. If you haven't seen, go to the Dollar Tree, go to Lowe's, go to Home Depot, Ace Hardware, Bill's Hardware. I don't care where you go. Do yourself a favor. Get you one of these little storage containers. Dollar Tree is the best place for me because they cost $1.07. That's counting tax. They have a few compartments with enough screws for most of the Kirby. So, including if you have longer ones there, which there's a couple of little longer ones in here. But anyway, you can see I have 3 screws here. One came from here. That way you can take your little flathead screwdriver. Once you get the screw out, stick it there, pop it, and just let it fall out. Don't try to force it out. It goes in like this. So don't try to take it out by twisting it to the left or right because you're going to break it. You can see the little hooks. Well, shoot, that one's already broke. Somebody's probably been in here before me. Throw that little piece of plastic in the recycling. Save Mother Earth. So anyway, when you do that, make sure you take it off the correct way. Set it to the side. Bam, to the side. Now we're going to try this handle with this big old honking cord. Now this is a T20 screw here, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. A T20, a Torx bit driver. I mean, you can get them. They're not the star bits. Just look up Torx bit driver. They work phenomenal. That's what Kirby uses a lot of. This is a T20. Most of the screws here are T20s on this thing. And then you go to the T15 for the cord. Now some cords will be mounted up under this trim plate here, while others will be mounted to the side. I think it's just the newer models, the Avalir 2, that have it here on the side. I work on so many, it's hard for me to keep track of what's what nowadays. But anyway, you take that screw out, put it there. You see I got them together. These are my 3 screws for the cord, the T15 cord, and the T20 trim plate. And then we're gonna see if we can do this with one hand without, sure would be easier. Here, you know what, let me remove this cord. It's all tangled up. As you can see, one of their cord reels is messed up. I mean, it's an older model. I expect things to be wrong with it, but you know, I don't know. Take care of your cord holders. It drives me crazy. Pet peeve of mine. I know lots of people that don't care, and some people that like OCD like me and care a lot about it. Now I got it part the way undone. All right, that's a trash cord. What, baby girl? My kitty cat's in here talking to me. Now I've already done this and got it loose. So to get the cord separated right here, you take a flathead screwdriver, something flat, stick it here, easier with 2 hands because then I can hold, and pop it, comes right loose. Now the cord is out of the way. Close the screw container. I've knocked these over before. If you don't know what screw goes where, well, you can cause a real headache. Now, let's see if I can do this. My right hand's probably better. Hey, I managed without breaking it. Well, that's kind of loose. No biggie, you just tighten them up. Now, I'm not going to do too much of this. These are, well, I'll have to wait till I got two hands and get the right size. I was hoping my T20 would work, but it won't. But you can see it's just a little loose. I don't know what they want me to do with this. I know they want the cord replaced, but other than that, I'm not sure what they want fixed. I have to get them a detailed list of everything wrong. Now this just comes off. It's got two hooks here, right there at my fingertips. So when you put it back together, you're going to want to slide it right here where this piece of plastic is, because you want it sealed right there so not a lot of stuff gets down there, and then it just pops into place. Once you get the cord back up under there, obviously you should be able to hear it. Snaps in place, and then you put the screw back in there, the T20, T15, T20. But that's not what we're here for. We're taking it apart to look at this thing on the inside. That way people can know what they look like on the inside. If you've never done this before, they're pretty cool. They seem kind of scary. Don't be scared. Don't be intimidated at all. Now, you lift this, undo the belt. See this? Green to green, the belt is on. Red here is on the side. Now you're gonna, on the G5, every model is very similar to this, where it has something that pops out or something, whether it flips out this way or whatever, and then you just use that as a little handle to spin it. Now this one spins freely because I didn't have the belt on. Now it hit the belt just then. And then you just do that. Once you get the red to red, see the red to red? The belt is off, and that's when you hit the safety latch. That holds it all in place. Now don't leave your belt like this while you're working on it. The belts are extremely strong rubber, but I don't think you can see it there. But they will stretch over time. Yeah, you can see it. They will stretch and get out of shape over time, which causes your brush roll to spin, well, not to spin properly. And if this brush roller ain't spinning right, then it's not cleaning right, and you want a clean house. Okay, anyway, enough about that. Now, to get this apart, we're sticking with the T20 here. What's Katie? What are you looking at? My princess is here. Got her for my son's Christmas present, and she chose me, so what can I do? Now this is a T20. You're going to take out these two screws. 1, 2, both T20s. Now this is the same for pretty much every model. Well, excuse me, let me say that. This is pretty much the same for all the newer models. When they started doing the G's, they started doing this. Now the older models, Legends, Classics, things like that, yeah, they're slightly different. Their body style is different. Then you're going to turn it around, also with the T20, here and here. You don't have to be a bodybuilder to do this. You see I'm doing it with one hand. Now, you may have to put a little pressure. Every screw is a little different. And I am used to doing this. I take apart probably 15 Kirby's a week. That's why I do mix my screws. You know, I do it in a pattern because, well, I'm OCD in some weird way. I don't understand it myself. But it happens. I'll take these 4 screws that I just took out, and I'll put them all together. That way I know which step it goes in. And you can see these 2 up front here, they have a little point on them. So the ones in the rear do not have a point on them. So you know which screw goes where. Now you're pretty much in the Kirby. Now you're thinking, no, I'm not. Well, yes, you actually are. Because you're going to lift that up, and now you'll have to work it past the little safety switch. Now for those of you that don't know, haven't watched any videos on this, when the bag is put on correctly, it will push that. You can see it very good there, past all the dust and crud. If you don't clean your Kirby, take care of it. Oh, hey, look, I see it. It's missing something there, and that's why I always open these things up. We knew it needed a new cord, but see that? For those that don't know, there's supposed to be a belt around there. There is no belt there. I knew something didn't sound right. It may have snapped. Since there's not much of a way out, it's probably down in there somewhere. So I'll take the power switch or the switch off. I'll take the transmission out and I'll find it, because it's not going to work good. The Kirby will work itself, but without this, the transmission doesn't do what it's supposed to do. And that transmission makes this thing, I mean, it's a great feature of the Kirby. But anyway, back to this. Without the dust, which I always save an old toothbrush. We'll clean this up when I get ready to. Old toothbrushes are great scrubbing tools. I'm sure many of you will agree, because, well, they can reach them hard to get places. And then you just clean them out some. But anyway, okay, we're getting off track there. So, now, to get this out, pop up, pop up. Now the Avalirs and Sentrias and things come out, they're all the same pretty much, just this little metal piece is shaped a little different. I definitely like the new design better, a little easier to deal with. But they all, you see the hole there? It just fits right over this little nub here and goes in. So now you can see better where the belt goes. It wraps around here and here. Them are the two wheels it wraps around. It's very small. It's called a tech drive belt. And that way when you have the transmission here and drive, this is the transmission for those that don't know. This is the drive switch selector. Neutral, drive. If you're not vacuuming, have it in neutral. If you're just pulling it around the house, just, well, for exercise or whatever reason, neutral. If you put it in drive, it gives a lot more resistance, and, well, it can cause issues later down the road. But you can see down there, you see it? It kicks a little gear in. That took it out. I wish I had a little better light there, but I don't. But if you look real close, you can see the gears. And now it's back in. So anyway, the gear's in. It's ready to drive. What you do, when you pull the handle here, it don't move much, but it moves this piece. Now, this is the part that activates. See how it's hooked in? The handles, you put the handle in here, wham, and then this hooks here. And this is the actual part of the transmission switch. So when, see how it moves back and forth there? That little bit of movement will kick in or engage the transmission to go in forward or drive. That was forward or reverse drive. So anyway, forward or reverse is the term. But without that belt there, it doesn't get that option, because this comes out of the motor and spins this around, so it doesn't have that tech drive now. Without that belt, it does not have the tech drive. Now the easiest way to get to that is put that piece up that way, especially when you got two hands. I'm gonna scratch my table up. Oh well. But you have some screws down here. See, you have, notice you have 1, 2, 3 T20s. Yes, you have 4 here. Do not remove this one. Do not. Do not, and I'll show you why in a minute, do not remove it. You remove one. Two hands is easier. Or a power screwdriver. If you have one of them, I recommend. I don't know why I don't buy one as much as I do this. I guess I'm just old-fashioned that way. Lots of people pause their videos, or you know, they'll skip this part. Yeah, well, I'm not that guy yet. I don't know how to edit them yet. I'm working on it. I can fix your Kirby's, your vacuums. I can cook. I can work on just about anything. Let me put that in. Notice I'm putting it in neutral. There's a reason, and I'll explain that in a moment. See how it's starting to separate there? You can see it coming away from the body. Okay, now it stopped separating. Notice that? Even though the screw's out, pretty much. This thing's got dirt and stuff all over. Notice I put them screws in a different slot? That's what I do. Now, the reason I put this in neutral when I did this is it doesn't really come out that way. Now the G5s are a little wonky in my opinion. They don't like to fall right out anyway. I'm very shocked that came out so easy. There is the missing tech drive belt. Notice Kirby. So it's an authentic piece. Don't use them imitation ones. Sure, you'll get away with it for a little while, but then it'll come back to haunt you later on. Made in the USA. Can you see that? Made in the USA. Kirby. This is called a tech drive belt. Throw it to the side because, well, it's garbage. There's no reason to put it back in here even if they don't want me to fix it. Maybe you can get a better view of what I was saying with the drive selector. The gear. You can see the teeth down there. Now sometimes you'll have problems where they're making a clicking noise when you push them, even when it's in neutral. It's because of this. Them gears they won't open sometimes because of crud build up on them. So you got to take that apart, which to take that apart, you're going to take out this fourth screw that I told you not to remove. It is also a T20. I'm not going to take it out. I can see it needs cleaning. It seems to work fine, although, let's see if you can notice it. Let's see if I can point it out. I need a pointer here. There's my long screwdriver. Now down here, right down here, you can see it's a little dark rust color. Well, that's because it is. Now, this little piece here, let me get my toothbrush back out. This little piece here wears out over time and it starts coming apart. I say coming apart, it starts rusting. So every now and then you got to take that apart and clean it, because that is what, let's see if I can do this with one hand. Now watch the piece in here. Watch this piece. It connects. The lighting is so bad right here. Watch this piece. It's the one that actually disengages and allows the gears to connect. See how it moved? Not this piece. This little piece right. I'll make it move. It's right there. You can probably see it better in person. So that's, you know, they'll start to rust, so every now and then you got to replace the drive switch selector, clean that. But if you keep that clean and lubed up right, it should last for many, many, many years. Should. There's always that possibility. But so I know if they want me to do the work, I'm going to go ahead and take the drive switch selector off, take this apart, clean it up real good, and I'll lube it up. It'll definitely need a tech drive belt. I'm going to set the transmission over here to the side. I don't even know if it works. Okay, now let's look at the inside. Well, you can see all sorts of dust and dirt down in there. These Kirbys are sealed pretty good. And compared to other vacuums, regular vacuums that I've taken apart, they're sealed wonderful. They don't contain half the dust and everything that gets sucked up in others. And you know, it's enlarged due to the way they suck in dirt. It comes in here. This is a sealed unit. Then it goes whoosh, up the fill tube here and into the bag. It doesn't get near the motor. Now the motor is behind here, but it's sealed pretty tight. Now some dirt will get inside anyway, but mostly it gets in through little cracks and stuff in the body where it's put together. It's no big deal. You take it apart and clean it every now and then. One of the places I like to clean, when I dismantle it to clean it, I take the power switch here out, and behind it, I don't know how to describe it. Well, it hooks in to the metal prongs, and they'll be full of dust. It seems like a fire hazard. I don't know if fires ever really started that, but it seems you got dust and grime in there, and that's where electrical current goes. Sounds like a fire hazard. That's the way I was raised anyway. So I clean mine at home. Probably once a year I'll break down my Kirby. The Sentria is the one I usually use. I do have a G3. I have a Frankenstein G4, I think it is. It's bits and pieces off different Kirbys, but it was given to me free and it works, so I mean, why not just keep it? Maybe one day I'll part it out or something. And then I have, I don't know, I think I have a G5 or 2 of myself. I do not have any Avalirs. What, baby? What? Hold on, y'all want to say hello to Sketty? She wants to say hello. This is Sketty Betty. Yes, that's my trash can. Don't knock my screws over. She likes to see what Daddy's doing. She's a daddy's girl. Sketty Betty. Say hello. She is a pretty girl. She is a spoiled, rotten princess. She's trying to get treats, is why she's howling at me so bad. Go catch you a mouse. She's a hunter. She's my hunting cat. She hangs out in the backyard, which is a slightly wooded area, and hunts. She'll eat anything. But anyway, enough about her. Now you can see all the dust in here. If they want, I will take it apart and clean it. I'm going to take it apart now just to show you more. Now these, when you take this off, this whole piece here, you'll have 4 screws to do this. Now, you're going to take this one, and then spin it around, and you have this one and this one. They're all T20s. But when you do this, notice these wires over here. Well, as most wires on electronic things or electrical things, well, they go in a certain order. So you want them in a certain order. You want to put them back in a certain order. The same way they're in there now, that's the way you want them when you put it back together. If you have to pull out your camera, which you probably have it right there, your phone is a camera. We all know that. So you're going to want to take pictures of them. Make sure you go slow about disconnecting them wires. Do not go snatching on them like a crazy person. Go slow. Be careful. If you snatch them off, it's not my fault. I'm warning you now. Be careful. Now these screws are some of the longer ones I've mentioned. Bam. Yes, they go in there. All 4 of these screws go in there because, well, that's where the long screws fit. That's why. I don't know why I decided to put screws where I put them, but that's the way I do it at work when I take apart a Kirby. I do it the same way at home. That way I always know what screw goes where. Okay, now we're ready to take this baby off. Now, let me show you. See how the wires are in there? This one here is going to hook to the top of the power switch there. It's tucked in. You can see it's just a female end. There's a little hole back there that it plugs in. Now notice, this one goes down to the back also. It's not this one that is giving me a hard time. This is your brush wire here. The bottom one, the bottom front one is your brush wire. Let me grab something to get them loose without breaking them. Two hands are always easier when it comes to working on just about anything. Okay, bear with me for a moment while I try not to drop you. Okay, you can see now this wire, which is the brush on this side, it runs under the motor and up behind this wire and hooks on right here to this male. This is this brush wire on this side. Let me see if a flathead will get it loose a little easier with one hand. Yep, popped it right off. That's that brush wire. They have to go in that order. Now let me show you what I was... You see this one down here? It's behind the brush, so you got to kind of be careful with that one. Now let me show you where they were plugged up. The first one was plugged up there. There's a little slot there, and it goes right in there. You can see the little adapter it hooks onto, the male piece. Now, if you don't know why it's called a male and female ends, that's a male that sticks out. This is a female that has the receptacle for receiving the male. That's all I'm going to say. If you don't know by now, well, listen to Simply Red. Maybe they'll tell you. Now, you can see it's pretty dirty here. This is a lot easier with two hands. Have I told y'all that? Now, if you want to change the brush, this is as far as you need to go pretty much. If that's all it is, you'll know. This is supposed to be a copper color. A good seating stone. You get a good seating stone. You can order them online here. You'll hold it there. I kind of hold it to the side, and then I spin the spindle here, and it's like I don't know, a sanding stone. It'll take all that carbon build up. Now parts of it's still shiny. It still could use a good cleaning while I'm in here, so I'm going to recommend this. But you spin that, it'll get it back to the copper look. Now while you're in here, you'll check your brushes over here. Brushes last a good long time, but they do occasionally wear out. Now let me change. You know what? Let's find my Phillips head. I have a little Phillips head I like to use on this. Now this is the screw for the brush. I find that most times if one brush is good, the other brush is as well. They wear pretty evenly. I mean, there are them occasions where they don't. They're designed to wear evenly. They both touch it at the same place, same pressure. So they're designed that way. That's a Phillips head. Notice it's a different screw. It goes back there. I don't know why. Again, I don't know why. And then you just pop that out, pop it down, and then that's your brush. Still got a few years left on that. So I'm not going to recommend replacing that. You can see that they're pushed in, and as time goes by, as they wear, it'll push more and more out. So that still has a good few years. And now these are probably the original brushes. And this thing, this G5 is 20 years old. So I mean, they still got a good while. Now while we're in here, notice I put the brush with the screw that it goes with. Bam. Ignore all that stuff in the background. No, I do not drink hardly ever. It's been a few years since I've had alcohol. I do lamps with those. Okay. This is how you get the power switch if you need to clean it. I know I need to clean it for them. Now I'll put that in the back corner there. Notice it's a little shorter. Both Phillips head, I know I've said T20 on so many things, it's crazy, but both these are Phillips head. Now, with this, the easiest way is to have two hands, but we don't have that luxury here. This is how you get the actual power switch itself out. Be careful. No, it's not going to shock you. It'll roll off the table for one. There. You just pop a little bit and it snaps right out. And I bet, and this is the power switch. They do go bad. When it's not, when you're having power trouble, it won't come on for some reason. Check the switches I've mentioned first. This one where the bag hooks in, and this one on the front. Check them first. So then, if they're bad, check the cord. Look for kinks, rips, something like that. Kinks can cause issues, cause the wiring inside the rubber to break. So you may just have to buy a new cord. If it's not the cord, if you're positive it's not the cord, then the power switch is your next likely. Well, let me rephrase that. The brushes, but then the power switch. The brushes, I haven't really seen them cause that big of issue where it doesn't come on. Now, I've seen some pretty bad brushes where, I mean, it's pretty gummed up, but it still comes on. This is the stuff I was talking about in the power switch. The dust buildup. You see, that shouldn't be there. These are all male receivers for all these little female pieces here. It's a lot going on in this vacuum. Is all this Kirby. And for those that you don't know, there's the second fan. See it spinning in there? That's not the back of the front fan. That's the second fan. That's the interior fan. And you can see I'm spinning it because this is the shaft here that hooks onto the power nozzle that the belt sits around. See how I'm spinning it? I'm doing all that from back here where the tech drive belt is supposed to be. Some of this dirt's coming out just because it's in my way. So this is what I'll be doing if they want it cleaned up. You know, I'll charge them for the cord replacement, the labor, and a tune-up will be all inclusive. I'll shine the Kirby up itself. I'll get this thing out. I'll get all this dirt out. I'll clean down bottom. I'll clean the transmission. I'll make it look as new as I can for a 20-year-old Kirby. So, okay, well now you know how to do it. If you do not know how to put it back together, I suggest you watch this in reverse. Do the steps. From here, you would put the power switch back in. Make sure when you put the power switch in, these two pieces, they will break if you're not careful. Don't ask me how I know that. I'm just going to say that, no, it never happened to me. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, they go in a little hole down here. See the light? You can see the table through the light, through the Kirby. And they will poke out here. I say poke out. They'll go rest right almost flush with this. Do not force them. If you start forcing them, that's how you break stuff. Again, don't ask me how I know. I don't know why you're accusing me of things. So, anyway, you put the power switch back in there. Once you get it seated good, it'll snap pretty easily back into place. It'll be snug, but it snaps pretty easily back into place. Then you put, well, you can go ahead and connect this wire. Where does this one go? It's the brush from the other side. So it goes, it goes here on the top one on the power adapter. The brush from this side that I actually removed and have over there, it connects to the bottom one here. The other two wires, the short one connects here, the longer one connects here. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you to save you the trouble, before you connect this one, the bottom brush on this side, the one I removed, make sure this one is connected. Use your little needle nose pliers or something, get in there, you'll feel it snap in place. If you do not feel it snap in place, do not put this Kirby back together. It just gives you a light little snap. Pay attention, you'll feel it, you'll know when it's in right. The same with this one, they snap, but if you go wiggling the top plate around the part that goes here while you're hooking stuff up, they'll come loose easy on you too. So once you get that back in and get the wires hooked up, you can put the brush back in. Now notice it has this little nub on the side of it. That's the bottom piece. It fits in this little slot right here. I don't know if you can see it in the camera. Yeah, I can, so I'm guessing you can. It sits in there. This is fun to do. I'm not going to try it with one hand. I usually use a flathead screwdriver. Well, you know what? Let's be cocky. I'm going to try it with one hand. Hey, look, it snapped into place. Now, the reason I was able to do that is because nothing's in my way. The top plate isn't on. Once you put the top plate on, you know, it has different obstacles. And the reason I usually put the brush in last is due to the wire that fits here, the bottom one. The long one on the plate here, it's kind of a pain to get to if that brush is there. The brush is less trouble. I usually take a screwdriver, push it in, and I'm able to, you know, my fingers are too fat to get down here, so I use the flathead screwdriver, pop it in, and then wiggle it into place and put it all back together. Then once you get the brush back in, you can fasten down the top plate here with the 4 screws, the 2 here and the 2 up front. Make sure you use the long screws. Otherwise, well, you're stinking. You're putting it together wrong. Then, once you get that on, you can put the transmission back in. The transmission, don't forget, it needs to be in drive to fit in there correct and come out correct. Otherwise, you're doing it wrong. And then once you get that in there, you'll put the 3 screws, 1, 2, 3, back in there. Transmission will be connected. Make sure when you're doing this not to knock this little metal rod out from the power switch, because it's going to need to be connected. And once you get everything buckled up, it's a pain to get that piece connected if it comes loose on you. Notice it has a slot at the bottom. The way they're designed, if I can show you with one hand, well, they slide in and out. This is not rounded on this end. Like, see, this end is rounded. The other end has 2 flat sides and 2 rounded sides. So that way, if you get it this way, you should be able, see, there you go, one hand. So it's not completely rounded. Flat on the sides, and that's how it slides in there. And then rounded on top and bottom. Makes it much easier to go in that way. But if you have it all buckled up, you can't really get this to lay down and up in there. So I'm not going to tell you how I know. I'm just going to say I don't know what you're talking about. So I've never done that. I wouldn't do that. Why would I do that? Oh, well, yeah, when I'm rushing maybe, but you know, that's different. Okay, so now you got the transmit, you got the power switch in, you got the brush in, you got the top plate on, you got the power switch in. This is in the right way. Make sure when you're putting the transmission in to lift this up a little bit so it don't get stuck in the wrong position, so you don't have to take the transmission back out to get it loose, because it'll wedge down in here sometimes, and it's a pain. I'm not going to tell you how I know. We're just going to leave it at that. And then once you get all that done the correct way, make sure it is imperative that when you put the transmission back in, that these 2 pieces fit together. Otherwise, see how it's got the little yoke there going in? Let me get a close up. If you do not have this fork, have something sitting in that fork, if you have it here or here, you're doing it wrong. It has to be sitting in this fork, this handle, this yoke, whatever you want to call it. It has to be sitting in there. If it's not, it's wrong. Don't go no further until that's correct. You may have to drop the transmission back out and play with it to get it to line up. It lines up pretty easy, so. Okay, but once you get the transmission back in, we're going to assume the top plate, everything's hooked up right. This is sitting in there right. then you can put the power switch on. It just pops there, and then it hooks on here and here. It just clips on. I mean, it's such basic. Kirby really, I mean, they went above and beyond, really, in my opinion, on the design, on the ease of the design. They made them super good, but super easy to work on. Some of these vacuums I've taken apart, they have so many pieces and they're such a pain to work on. Not Kirby. They're actually my preference of vacuums to work on. When people show up with them, I'm like, good. You know quality. So, okay, now you have this back on. We're at that point. Now, then, once that's on, you have it hooked on right, you go for the actual hood. It'll go here. You have to make sure this piece fits on the little hole, on the little safety switch here. You might have to give it a little wiggle like this, and then it'll drop right on. And then the power switch will be here. The handle will be sticking out of here off the plate. And everything will be nice. Then you'll put screw here, screw here, screw here, screw here. Remember? Them are these 4 screws. The pointy ones go in the front here. I say pointy because, well, that's the technical term. I'm pretty sure I read it in a book. Technical term, pointy. So, and then once that's in there, now on a G5 and some of the older models, the cord goes up onto the trim plate. So you kind of put the trim plate, make sure you get the hooks. Where is it? These 2 little hooks here, one on each side, make sure they fit up onto this lip here. They just snap right in. If you got it up here, they're not right. You have to put that side in first, and then it locks in place, and then it snaps in place. Now remember, the power cord or the power switch is already filling this hole. So before you lock it in place, put the cord up under it on this one, on the G5. Like I've said, newer models have them mounted to the side. Haven't decided which way I like them better. I guess they're both about equal. So then you got the cord hooked on, you plug it up, put this on, put the handle on, put the power nozzle, power head back on, and you're ready to go. So that's it for this video. I'm fixing to buckle this thing up myself. So I'll see y'all next time when I'll be working on something else. Maybe an Avalir too, since I have one in the other room waiting on me. Now I can put this one back together and see what they want to do with it. All right, y'all have a blessed night or a blessed day. Blessed life, how's that?